Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to the 14th in a series of video tutorials on how to create a first-person shooter in Unity 5. So this episode we're going to be doing just a little bit of GUI to add in a couple of labels on our ammo. We're going to be building a little bit more of this and we're going to be working on picking up our gun rather than just suddenly start the level with it. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a label for our 9mm ammo on our canvas. So if we click here for our canvas, click on our panel, and I'm going to double click so we can see. And what I want to do, ideally, is duplicate the panel itself. So we can do that, as usual, hold Control, press D. And I'm just going to drag it up and align it about there, just for now. And I'm going to get rid of, let's get rid of ammo displayer because we don't particularly need that. Loaded ammo, I'm going to rename as ammo label. I'm going to rename panel 1 as label panel. So for now, to make things nice and simple, on ammo label, I'm just going to put on here, let's do 9mm a millimeter. Change the font size a little, so it's changed it to 16. Let's see, I'll keep it as normal. I'm going to move it a little down into the middle, and I'm going to decrease the size of our label panel. So let's do this with this tool just here, and let's decrease it to a decent size. Let's bring it inwards to about there, and let's realign the position of our got a bit funny there, hasn't it? Okay, so we just need to change the size of this too. So about there. And let's get it back into position. So now hopefully when we play, we should have the little box above. Yeah, that looks fine. So ideally what I want to happen is when we start, we have no gun. So obviously this doesn't display. So let's turn that off to start with. Okay, next thing I want to do is we need to start without a gun really. So let's head to our gun itself. So FPS controller, click on M9 and let's disable. And just check we don't see anything. Nope, that's fine. However, at this point you'll probably notice, yeah, we can still pick up ammo and we can sort of invisibly fire, as it were. So we need to change that. Let's clear out our console. So next thing we're going to need to do is let's build up the other side of our door. So I'm going to double click on the crate just to zoom back in, and let's go through this door and let's build the other side here. So at the moment it's quite dark because if you remember we played with the light last time. So I'm going to go on window, lighting, and I'm going to increase the ambient intensity. In fact, no, we'll leave it at 0.25. Let's change the ambient color to white, make it a little bit brighter. And then let's increase the ambient intensity so we can see slightly better. So what I want to do is I'm going to make our gun available behind this door to pick up. So let's click on wall, hold Control, press D. Let's rotate by 90 degrees and let's put it into a half decent position. So let's bring it this way to about there maybe, and let's pull it outwards to about there. Let's duplicate again and let's pull it over this way. In fact, we may need to pull it out just a little bit more because it should intersect into this level here, but that shouldn't matter too much because I was going to remove this back wall anyway. So while we're at it, let's duplicate this wall. Let's just pull it along to there. And this wall here, let's pull this one all the way out. So you can see it intersects there. So let's pull it all the way to about there. Actually, no, that's not quite right, is it? About there, yeah. Okay, that'll do just for now. You can obviously take your time and sort things out accordingly. So I'm just going to take this wall once again, duplicate, rotate by 0 degrees, and just pull it to the end. So we now have a sort of a room just here with an exit over this way. So that should do just there. So next thing I want to do is I want to create, let's tell you what, let's have one of these crates have the gun on top of it. So I'm going to duplicate the crate. I'm going to take that duplicate behind this door to about there, maybe. Okay, that looks fine. I'm going to decrease the scale to 1 by 1 by 1 and drag it down onto the floor like so. I'm also going to take off the rigid body component on this. So right click on rigid body in your inspector pane and remove component. Because I want this to remain where it is, otherwise we might end up with a floating gun because we won't have worked our physics into the gun to fall onto the floor yet. So we can come to that at another point. So what we need to do now is place a gun on top of that crate. So let's find our gun in the objects. And let's drag and drop into there. And obviously we need to scale it. Nice simple way, 0.05, 0.05, 0.05. Need some rotation, as you can see. So let's rotate on the Z axis. We could probably just set that as 90 to be honest. And now let's place the gun on top of this crate. Let's twist a little, just add a bit of effect. Make sure that's sitting on top nicely. It is, that's fine. It may look a bit too big when we get in game, but that doesn't matter too much. We can always get around that, no problem. So next thing we need to do is need to set a trigger on top of our gun. So we can do that by game object, 3D object, cube, and position the cube on top of our gun. About that should do. So I'm going to shrink the cube a little, so 0.5 on the y-axis, and we're going to have 0.9 and 0.9 on the others. Oops, 0.9. Just moving that into position now, about there. Okay, so that looks just fine. I might actually decrease the size of our gun a little. Change it to 0.4 by 0.4, 0.4. Okay. So back to the cube, which is the trigger. And we need to turn off the mesh renderer. So now it goes completely see-through. Next thing we need to do is we need to write a script. So let's head to our scripts folder. Right click, create, script. And we can call this something really, really simple. Let's call this pick up 9mm. Open up in Mono Develop or Visual Studio, whichever one you have. You'd have to excuse me on this one. I've had a bit of a cold, so that's probably why my voice sounds a little bit different today. So this script, we're going to reference a script we wrote a couple of episodes ago. If you remember, it was called the player casting script. And that was a way that we could open our door. So the script we're going to, well, one of the scripts we're going to be writing in this episode, this script in particular, is going to be very similar to when we wrote the door script to open the door. So on our pickup 9mm script, delete what we've got. Let's start by, let's start with our player casting variable. So what we're going to need to do is var, so we need to measure the distance. The distance, that is going to be of type, float it's going to be. I almost wrote integer there, but it's not an integer, it's a float. So that needs to be equal to player casting dot distance from target, semicolon. So just so you have the reference there, distance from target references the static variable within that player casting. So we're referencing this to see where we are, how far away we are from objects. So next thing we need to do is we need to turn on our 9mm display. So var, let's have text display, and that's of type game object. So when we start this script, obviously we'll have picked up the gun, so we'll use that game object to turn on our little label that says 9mm. Next thing we need is the fake gun. We need to turn that off. So var fake gun, also a game object. Next we need the real gun, the one we're holding. So var real gun, also a game object. And I think that should do just for now, because as long as we get the basics working in this episode, we can build on that. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to have the function update and make sure the distance is always going to be equal to the player casting .distance from target. So function, oops, helps if I spell it right. Function update, close bracket, open curly bracket. I actually spelled distance wrong there. Good job I noticed that one. The distance is equal to player casting dot distance from target, semicolon. Next thing we need to do is do an if statement. So if input dot get button down and open bracket quote. Now before we go any further, head back into Unity, edit, project settings and input. We need to make sure that action here in this case is our E button. So we need to make sure that we title it as action, just like we did with the door. So we need to put here action. And then, yes, double close bracket there, sorry. Open curly bracket. Now, what we need to do here is we need to reference a function that we're going to write later on in this particular script. And I'm going to call it take 9mm. So we need to write an if statement to check if we are less than 2 away from the gun. So if, open bracket, oh, that's nice, don't really care. Distance is less than or equal to 2, close bracket, open curly bracket. Then we need to run this particular function, which I'm going to call take 9mm, open close bracket, semicolon, and then close curly bracket, close curly bracket, close curly bracket. And that's our function update done. So next thing we need to do is do on mouse over function. So when our mouse is over this particular object, it displays something to us. So we need to do, let's see, what's the best way of doing this? So function on mouse over. In fact, I think we are going to need to put in another variable here, because I think what we'll do is we'll use text display to display our actual text of what we're going to say. So we need to set another variable, and we'll call this ammo display as game object. So now, just so as we keep everything uniform, this text display variable is going to be the game object on our screen, which will say words to us of what to do. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So function on mouse over, open close bracket, open curly bracket. We need to put another if statement, which is this if input.get button, the distance, sorry. So we can copy that. So we need to check if the distance is 2, and what we need to do is we need to do text display dot get component dot spiky bracket text close spiky bracket open close bracket dot text equals, and we'll say take 9mm pistol close quote and semicolon, and then 2 close curly brackets. So now what we need to do is similar function on mouse exit, on mouse exit, open close bracket, open curly bracket, and I'm going to copy that line of code, and I'm just going to make it equal to nothing, and close curly bracket. So the last function we're going to do here is going to be our take 9mm function. So, function take 9mm, open close bracket, open curly bracket, and this is the function which we call here if we are close enough and we've pressed our E button. So as I say, it calls this function from there. So we go down here. What we need to do is we need to move this particular trigger way off screen. So we can just do transform dot position, and then we'll put it in a position that we'll never ever see. So equals vector 3 open bracket, and we'll do 0, comma minus 1000 0 close bracket and semicolon. Next thing, we will make our fake gun disappear. So it's fake gun dot set active false, and then we'll have real gun dot set active true. So now the gun that's going to be on the box will disappear and the gun in our hand will appear. So then we need to do ammo display dot set active true, because we need to display our label that says 9mm. And I'm going to go down a line here and then close curly bracket and save, because I think what we're going to need to do at a later point is add in an extra line in there which says, yes, we have actually picked up this gun. So I am just going to now drag this script that we've created, which was pick up 9mm on this cube. So drag and drop straight on there. Right click and rename this as pick up 9mm trigger. And now we need to set these variables. So firstly, let's set the fake gun, which is the M9 here. So fake gun. Let's set our real gun. Now we need to go to our canvas and we need to put ammo display there. And text display, I believe, was this one, text. So now let's press play and hopefully the script will work as intended. So let's head over here, open up our door, walk through, and it's not there. Okay, so what's gone wrong here? Something seems to have gone terribly wrong. So let's double check what's going on. So I am going to do, tell you what, for convenience sake, I'm going to bring our player into this area just here, just so we don't have to walk through the door again. So I'm just going to bring him there so we can see what happens. Okay, so there we go. So we've taken our pistol. Right, so I think the error we've had here is it looks like this door also works at the same time, but that's not to worry. So what's happening here is a case of the fact the door works as well as picking up the gun, so we can easily get around that. So let's head onto our switch for the door. Let's open up the script, have a quick look. Oh, okay. Fatal error has occurred. That's fantastic. That's exactly what you want in the middle of a tutorial. Let's reopen it. Take just a second. Okay, there we go. So let's have a quick look through. So what is happening here is it's kind of making everything disappear. You'll notice, although the gun works and the door works individually, if we take our gun, the door opens as well, which is very odd. So let's go to our switch and open the door, and it still works, which is fine. Okay, so what this essentially means is that we need to go deeper and deeper into our scripts and differentiate between things, which we'll do in the next episode. But to finish things off in this episode, we want just a little sound with our gun when we pick it up, so it sounds a bit more realistic. So I'm going to drag and drop this audio sound into Unity, just there. And I'm going to go onto our player and go on to gun sound effects. I'm going to duplicate that handgun sound we've got, right click, rename, and I'm going to call it pick up 9mm audio. Drag and drop that sound into there. And now we need to head back into our script that we wrote, which was pick up 9mm. And let's set another variable, var, and let's have pick up audio, and that's an audio source. I'll put a hash in there, I shouldn't have done. Okay, there we go. And what we need to do is on the take 9mm function, we need to put pick up audio dot play, open close bracket, semicolon, save. Then on our trigger, after it's had a think, we'll have, yeah, that's there. So we just need to drag and drop that onto there. So when we press play, pick up our gun now, there we go. Okay, so the basics are all there. So it just needs a bit of fine tuning, but that's something you can do as you go along. As like I say, this is a tutorial. I'll try and do it as quick as possible. I don't have the time to fine tune things, but you obviously do. So next episode, we're going to look at refining this picking up a gun. We're going to add some props into our level, like tables, maybe some computers, maybe something, anything we can find really. So we'll add in some props. We're also going to look at some score GUI, putting in some targets to shoot as well, so we get more mechanics of shooting. Eventually after that, we'll move on to perhaps a main menu, level select, and we'll start building up levels from there with enemies and health and all kinds of stuff. So until next episode, thank you very much for watching.